Hi everyone, good morning. It's Leanne Boyd here, and yes, welcome. I'm just coming on today to talk to you about values and rules, living your life according to your own rules. I feel very strongly about this topic because there's so many people going around in life unhappy because they're not actually living according to their own set of rules. So I just want to ask a question. If I was to ask you on the spot, if you could tell me what's really important to you in your life, could you answer me? No second guessing. If I was to ask you the question, okay, tell me right now, here and now, what's really important to you? I don't know whether you could tell me. If you could, that's excellent. That's amazing. But no, people just go through their life. The majority of people just go through their life day in, day out, doing what they do, living the way they're living, and they don't even stop to think, well, how am I actually living? Am I actually following, living a way that's really important to me? Usually people just go through their motions in a day on autopilot, just thinking, oh, well, this is what I've got to do today. They don't stop and think, am I actually doing something that's relevant to me and what's really important to me? Or this is just their life. Sorry, I'm a bit husky today. My daughter came home last week with a cold from her camp and I've caught it, a little bit of it. So you'll have to forgive me if I sound a little bit husky and a bit stuffy today, but a couple of days and I'll be over that. So what if you're currently, ask you this question, what if your life currently doesn't sit with your own internal set of rules? You may feel disconnected in some way, in the way that you're living your life. If you're not living according to your own rules, then your moral compass is probably quite a lot out of whack and pointing you in the wrong direction in life. And this will bring you a lot of unhappiness, and you will probably feel unfulfilled in your life a lot, particularly if you're just living in, day out, and not actually sitting down and thinking about what is really important to me. It's so important to get this right, really, because your unhappiness may continue, particularly with women, because we struggle in life. We can feel very torn and frustrated, disconnected, unhappy if we're not living according to our values, because as women, we burn emotion into every significant moment in our lives. That's how we have good memories, such good memories, because we remember how we felt at any given time that's really significant to us in our lives. So yes, it's really important that we're living a life according to our own moral compass. We as women, we may feel we experience misalignment in our life and moral distress if we don't follow our values and live our life according to those. So I just want to ask you, have you ever done a values exercise to drill down and find out exactly what makes you happy, what excites you, and gives you true meaning and direction and purpose in life, and in your day-to-day living, in your work life, and also in your play life? Well, we would like to go out and play, but if we're not playing in the way that sits well with us, then we're not really going to enjoy that anyway. So I'd just like to give you a little bit of background around how values work. Your values periods start in three main development stages. The first one is the imprint period, which it goes from birth up to 7 years of age. And this is a time when our brains are like sponges and we absorb everything around us. And usually that comes from our parents. So this is the period from 0 to 7 where we learn what's good and bad, what's right and wrong. And we're usually directed by the people that are immediately around us, rearing us in those first 7 years of our life. The next stage is the modelling period, which is 8 to 13 years of age. And in this period in our lives, we tend to copy a lot. This is when we're most influenced rather, we don't take things as blind acceptance. We're starting to try and explore a little bit ourselves, and it's very, even when you might say, if you're a mum or a dad, you might say, oh, around 9 years of age, my child really acted up. It's because they're coming out of that soak it all up, and I believe every word you're saying. They're starting to develop themselves as an individual around 8 to 13, and starting to challenge things and get their own set of rules. And they tend to copy people that they like. It may not even be their parents, although sometimes it could be, but they tend to start to copy things. So just to get their own individual compass and bearing, if you like. And also around the age of 9, people have children have a real testosterone, a real hormonal surge that also tends to make them a little bit fiery too. And the next period is from 13 to 21, which is a socialization period. And this is really largely influenced by your peers. So as you develop too, you start to steer away from your earlier program, and you get influenced a lot by your peers, and media also influences is very highly influential, in particular social media these days, with all the influencers, social media influencers on board. So that's another area in the socialization period where you can be influenced with what your values may be. So it's very beneficial to you that you get clear on what your values actually are, because your values represent your unique and individual essence. And it's how you're ultimately going to fulfill yourself and be able to express yourself and relate to people and to relate to what you're doing in the way that you want to. Your values serve as your compass to your true self. So that's pretty big. Can't go through life not being your true and authentic self and maintain a level of happiness that you're going to be that's going to sustain you throughout your life. So if you know what your values are, important life decisions are going to be much easier for you, and you're going to understand your direction in life so much better if you know what your values are. So if you're moving towards your values, once we establish a set of values, when you move towards your values, then you are going to be always in an upward frame of mind. You're going to be positive. You're going to get good results. You're going to get positive results. Everything's going to be happy around you. People are going to be happy around you, and you're going to have high energy that you want for achievement, and you're always going to be moving towards something you want. If you're in an away frame of mind and you're not living your life to your values, your language also reflects this. You tend to use the word don't a lot, and you tend to say, for instance, I don't want to be broke. So, okay, so you want to be wealthy, but you don't want to be broke. But when you start putting the word don't in, your unconscious recognize the word don't. So when you say, I don't want to be broke, or I don't want to be late, or I don't want to do something, your unconscious mind automatically thinks that that's what you do want, because it doesn't recognize the word don't. So it'll probably give you that in spades. So when you're moving away from your values and you put the word don't in, you're actually moving towards what you don't want. So instead, you need to be saying, I want to be healthy, wealthy, and wise, and I want to be early, and you have to be very specific with what you do want in life, and that's when the universe does provide for you. So that goes with your values as well. If you're not living a life according to your values, you tend to be moving away from your own rules of living and your own rules for life and your own set of values. So let's just get down to what we can do to try and clarify your values. So this may seem really difficult. You think, oh God, I haven't really thought about what's important to me. And so how do I go about it? Well, what you can do is, one thing first is not to think too intensely about it. Otherwise, you tend to get right inside your head and you get stuck. and then it becomes a negative thing. So don't think too intensely about it, and don't think too strongly about social expectations and social behavior that you think that you need to do. And also, if you think too long about it, you tend to fantasize about what you should be doing. And should's a very negative word to use all the time. You know, you don't want to be shoulding on yourself or shoulding on other people. It's a very negative term. So don't think about it too much. When you start wanting to identify your values, you can just Google a list of values and use that as a prompter. Don't be drawn into those values on that list just as your own. Just use them as a guide, because we're all individuals, and everything that we Google really is a guide to what we want to do and what the information that we need. So use your intellect to figure out the correct values that will fit with you and who you are. So as I mentioned before about women having such good memories, so perhaps you can stop and think and remember really significant moments in your life and how you felt at those times. So both past and both present. Think about what you liked, what you disliked, when you felt most rewarded, what made you feel amazing, what made you feel like crap, what resonated with you, and what really repelled you. And so all of those feelings are intertwined and interconnected with what your values actually are. So if you write down those moments and remember how you felt, then that can be a first step of actually getting down and getting right in amongst what your values actually are. So you can be specific in your mind about the time frame though, and moment, and these will help you pinpoint what your values actually are. So, you know, you think about those times, what was happening, who was present, and what was going on in those times. What were the values that were being honored in those moments? You know, what are you hearing around you in those moments? What made you feel great when you accomplished things or achieved something? And what does accomplishment mean to you? Just simply, what does that mean to you? All your values are in there. You just have to extract them out. So go back through your life rather than sit in your head, and write them down on paper and look for the words in amongst that fit with you. Keep looking at those peak moments for you, and keep looking at the experiences, and even thinking about experiences that you're seeking in your life that you haven't yet done, and think about the values around that that make you particularly rich and fulfilled when you've done them or when you think about them. You know, your mind works in imagery. So if you can get these pictures in your mind, the values are going to come more easily to you. So don't struggle to find the perfect words at all to articulate your values, because then that's really not who you are. If you're just trying to be a perfectionist about it, it's more about what each value means to you. Your unique personal feelings around those values. So when you get your values right, you can use those values then to facilitate important choices in your life, to strategize around appropriate actions to take around things in your life, and to recognize situations that you don't want to be in, or that you don't want to step into, that's not going to sit with your values. So here are some tips to start organizing your values. When you start writing down your values, is use a pencil, because your values are so personal, and sometimes you may feel a little bit locked in to those if you start writing them down in ink pen, and then you can't, and you think, oh no, that's not me, and then you start crossing it out, and you start crossing it out again, and then you get all muddled up in front of you. Just use a pencil, use an eraser that you can rub out and rewrite things, and you'll feel better doing it that way. And also, when you're doing your second thing that you can do with your values clarification is, I'll just move this down a little bit here. You can also string some of your values together. So you can use say integrity, honesty, walk the talk. Those three things can go together. Just put a slash between each one. Or leadership, empowerment, collaboration, all of those go together. Leadership, decisive, powerful, or integral, whole, and congruent. Words like that, they all string together. So you make your list like that, if you like. Put 3 words together rather than just try and look for single words. Your values also will change throughout your life, depending on your experiences at the time. I know I do my values annually, because from year to year, my values have changed. So on top of my values list a couple of years ago was courage. And everything I did that year was, I faced my fears. I thought, if I'm scared about something, courage is my top value. So I'm just going to step right in and turn that fear into a learning experience. The next year, my top value was truth. So that year, I tried to be open and vulnerable and as authentic as I could be. And the year after that, I did my values again. And what came up for me was my top value that year was knowledge. And so that was the year I closed down everything, closed my business and went AWOL for 4 years, because I really wanted to immerse myself in learning more so that I can come back and bring that back to all my the followers and all my clients that I had in the past, and give them more benefit and more value with everything that I'd learned. So, and I also had a dream of becoming a naturopath and a reflexologist, and then I combined that with my creatrix transformology for women, and now I feel like I've nailed where I want to be in my life, and my values were the driving tool behind that when I got really clear on what was important to me in my life. So knowing your values is such a powerful tool for you and the way you want to live. It's your guide. It's your guide to keep your life on purpose, the happiness and fulfillment. So when you align your values, it gives you higher motivation and a more sustainable transformation in your life. And I just want to touch a little bit on that, because people get confused too what the difference is between change and transformation. We can all change things that we're doing. We can all change, from one day to the next, but usually that change may not be permanent. It's just something we do in that moment, and we've changed our life and stepped up our life or improved our life for a short-term term, what am I trying to say? And that's good to make those changes, but transformation is long-lasting and often permanent form of change. It's a transformation. You've morphed into another way of being, or you've gone back to who your true self is, and that's where you'll stay. So to make transformational changes, you're talking about long-lasting, long-term, deep transformational changes, usually at a subconscious level. That's going to be long-lasting and permanent change for you. So that's the difference. Change is just, okay, this is good at the time, and transformation is long-lasting change that's going to be there for perhaps the rest of your life. So when we value something really highly, we sustain behaviors and beliefs required to make transformation. So when I work with women, my clients, I really drill down deep into their values and get them very, very clear on what their values are. And that really helps with their transformation and gives them direction in their life, in their business life, in their leadership life, in their corporate life, whatever they want to do. So because when you're aligned with your values, you have a higher towards motivation and a greater chance of success. So your goals will feel easier, they'll sit better with you, and you'll get better results if you are fully aligned with your values during that transformation. So many of us have created lives in such a way that we automatically and easily honor many of our values. We just don't know that we're doing it. We're not aware of it. until we actually drill down. And some of us are way out of whack with our moral compass. So I'm hoping that this talk helps you. This live that I'm doing today helps you get in touch with your values, and that you do the work to get back to who you really are. So we may recognize our values in ourselves or in others that we like. You know, when we're drawn to someone, people form relationships, form friendships with them, or really hit it off with someone, it's usually because they're sharing our values and they're heading in the same moral direction that we are. When we come across someone that we don't really hit it off with, or we're a bit repelled by, we don't like their energy, it's usually because they're not aligned with our values. So values play a very important part in our relationships and in our harmonious life that we're trying to live. So another way that you could identify your values is your must-haves. Think about the things that you feel like you must have in your life. So it goes beyond physical. It's the things that you must have in your life to get by. So it goes beyond food, shelter, community. You must you have a form of creative self-expression in your life if you're an artist or if you're a creative person. So creativity may be high on your values list. Must you have adventure or excitement in your life? So adventure is up there on your list, and joy and excitement is up there on your list. Maybe adrenaline rush is too, I don't know. But yeah, if you are so inclined. Must you have partnerships and collaboration? So connection is high, collaboration is high on your list. Even leadership will be up there as well. Must you have a sense of moving towards accomplishment or success? So success is up there, and probably then health and wealth would be up there as well. Must you be surrounded by nature and natural beauty a lot? So that's high on your values. And there's another thing. Think about if you're obsessive about something. If you have an obsession with something, obviously that is high on your value list. If you just have to have this, you have to do this in your life. And people are capable of obsessive behaviour. And that's okay too. It's probably just high on their values list, that's all. So when you think about it, and you think about your life and all those things, the must-haves, the obsessions, or maybe all you can think about if you're a teacher is your students. So therefore, knowledge and teaching is high on your values. So just think about what you're actually doing and what you really feel strongly about at the moment. Learning, growth, recognition, acknowledgement, all of those. So, and think about, what do you think people say about you? What do you see in others that you value? They're all always high on your values. That will be high on your values list too. So just put your thinking cap on. As I said, don't think too intensely. Just think about your everyday life. Another way to put it is your values represent your uniqueness, and think about what that is when you're putting your values list is. What makes you unique apart from everyone else? So after you've brainstormed your list of values, I want you to then, you might have a list of 20, 30, 40, but I want you to narrow it down to your top 10. So this is how you determine what your top values are and what you value most in your life. So narrow it down to your top 10. Just cross out all the others. Get your top 10. Then after you get your top 10, I want you to narrow it down, and this will get harder and harder, but you just need to think about you and what's really important to you, and then narrow it down to your top 5. And, sometimes if you find it a little bit hard, you may like to get your top 10 and, give them a score out of 0 to 10 along each one, with 0 being the least that you care about and 10 being the most. That's another, is give them a rating score 0 to 10. So this exercise will help you to really bring yourself down and ground yourself and give you a true sense of self when you narrow it down, keep narrowing it down. And once you get to your 5, then go to top 3. And then go to top 1, your number 1. Take it right down, cross out the last 2, and then you're left with your number 1 value for that time in your life. So by living by that number 1 top value, your major decisions will be easier. That's your number 1 rule and your own internal set of rules. So so when you honor your values, there's going to be 3 things that happen for you in particular. You will add additional fuel to your motivational fire, and you're going to find action plans really, really easy to put into place and move towards your goals. Your number 2 is you're going to undermine your self-sabotage. Because if you're living towards your values, self-sabotage doesn't even come into it, does it? Because you're going to be action-based around that value. And it's going to be powerful for you. And the reasons for you not to do it are not even going to come into play. You're going to really be stepping into that value, and self-sabotage is going to be not even on the radar. And then number 3 is those actions are going to lead you to have a more fulfilling life. And that is what I wish for you. And that's what I wish for everyone, is to have a really fulfilling life. After all, that's why we're all here. So I'm going to pop in my group, Women Building Emotional Resilience. I'm going to pop a little list of values in there as a guide for you later today. And so you can go into my group, join my group, Women Building Emotional Resilience. And I'd love you to come in there, and I'm going to post this video in there also. You can watch it again later. And also please reach out if you need my assistance in any way. I am a qualified naturopath, so in health. I'm a creatrix transformologist, so with any blocks that you have that are really draining you in your life, and you've got goals and you're stuck and you can't move forward in any way, and fear and doubt and stress and anxiety are just keeping you stuck in that same old place, or if you've had problems and emotional problems that have really been disrupting your life long term, please reach out. You'll find me on Facebook in this group that you're watching, and also in my Women Building Emotional Resilience group. So yes, so I hope that helps you sort out what your values are, and I'm wishing you to have a great day, and thanks for watching. Bye.